what they did to people that.
Yeah, it's bending.
Oh yeah.
So evidently he's got kids.
I mean, the
Mine does, so I don't trust it.
Well, they made it.
I mean, that's why.
It's talking there about a half hour.
Yeah, they told me they could.
That's good. Turn my phone off.
Microphone page.
I can tell you anyway, because there's someone will be in my ear.
I make it. I'm gonna go sit. I have an EE.
That's why I'm wearing
We're gonna have Hawkins meetings looking good.
I'll know.
You remember that? I got the rest of them in my closet. I left the rest of my Oh, I know. You know, everybody bombarded me with this, you know, I'm like, but I know what I'm doing. Yes. Bless for Brian. My best friend. I'm better than y'all. Y'all are just gonna have another tax
Should sign that.
No, you gotta make your own. Are you gonna get a quarter of a loaf? Wait, no, you're gonna get a quarter of a loaf and half a dozen eggs. That's what you're gonna get. That's no lie. You're gonna get that on I got some oil that got 3 days sale. $1.97. I remember when it used to, now this is bad, I remember when it used to be in the street.
Well, I don't remember that, but I do remember around 25 cents.
When I was a little girl, my mom said to me,
Well, they did not. It's been very, very easy. You can put a lot in there. Hopefully we can just get them to stick around.
Call to order. August 17th, 2026, regular city council meeting. It is 6 p.m. Do we have anyone that would like to say the prayer today?
Heavenly Father, we thank you again for the privilege of coming in a free country to work and try to assist our city to have the best little town that we possibly can. We just pray for our mayor, for our council members, and for everything that we decide or they decide to do tonight. We just hope that it'll be for your honor and your glory. Just thank you again for this privilege to live in this great country. We ask this now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas flag.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, agenda item number 4, citizens' comments. Inez Cedillo.
Hi. So, we have 21 days now for the parade. I'm looking forward to y'all being a part of it. I haven't got none of the reports back. So I brought extras in case you don't have one. I want this to be a great parade, guys. I'm working really hard. I've already got Miss East Texas confirmed to be here, among other three or four more queens from the area. And the only way to make it a great parade is if we get everybody to start promoting it, whether if you have social media, if the city council has a Facebook page or a city thing, help us promote it. We want people to come to this town and buy from these vendors that are coming out. Come over here, maybe you'll get more people to move into our community because they want the small town. So before I leave today, I want, if it's possible, I want a yes or a no if you're gonna be in it. So, because I'm working on my parade roster. You can ride in your own car, you can ride in a Jeep, you can ride side by side, y'all can ride together, you can ride in a float, you can ride with your grandchildren, it doesn't matter. Just be a part of something that's bigger than just this meeting. Please. Thank you.
Bucky Elkins.
Council member, mayor, I'm Bucky Hawkins. I've lived in this town since 1967. What I'm saying here is, I worked for the city back in the 70s. I worked for the city for 2 years, along with Doug Dixon and others. This taxes that y'all proposing, it's gotta come to an end. You can't just keep taxing and taxing and taxing.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I've been involved with the fire department since 1972. We have always ended up turning money back at the end of the fiscal year because we take and go get grants to take care of what's in that fire department. yes, we get money from the county. But at the same time, you know, we did propose and finally got a new truck ordered. When it comes in, I mean, when is it gonna come in? It'll probably be next year sometime. And we've already paid, we'll say close to $200,000 on it. And it's on a grant that's gonna end up paying another 250-something thousand. So, I mean, this proposed property tax rate is, I think, is unreasonable. When you got a water department that is self-sufficient, the only thing that's bogging us down is the administrative cost. Y'all need to look at that. That's all I got to say.
Is it Sandra?
Rachel,
Rachel?
I'm just gonna come from here,
That's
okay?
fine.
Because really, what I have is a question. Last meeting, you said that we'd be able to ask the new policemen that are applying for the job, we'd be able to ask them questions and talk to them. And I was wondering when we're gonna be able to do that and how, you know, how you're gonna handle that.
I can't answer questions, it's not a back and forth thing, I can't answer questions from here.
Well, it's the only time we get to talk, so I just thought I'd bring it up that you said
Mandy,
we
would
could
you
before.
get her my email and my city phone number?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And then we can communicate that way, okay?
Well, see, well, I was kinda hoping you'd say something so that everybody would know when we were able to do that.
We're not supposed to answer questions. Mr. Chuck, you should.
Did you push the budget?
Yes, all right.
Well, I've looked at the proposed budget, and I think the water department is out of line. It's got $60,000 that is floating between years. And not to mention the project for the water tower replacement and the railroad. I mean, they were in last year's budget, so there's got to be an end to these projects someplace. I mean, you know, plus there's a $1 raise that he's proposing for employees, and the library's getting 50 cents. So I think 50 cents is more than reasonable. So that's my thoughts. Plus, item where you're going to appoint Hawkins Community Development Board members, these people have to be without blemish. You know, they have to be the pillars of the community. And Sharonda, for sure, is a convicted felony. And if you vote for her, that means that you are also going to be held in contempt by the state government. Now, I know that she changed her middle name, or changed her name for marriage, but that doesn't erase the felony. So, go ahead.
Mark McDonald. Mark McDonald is not in here?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Mark McDonald.
You were supposed to let him have a letter or some kind of signature on that. He's asked me, I don't know how many times, am I gonna get a letter or an answer? Did you do
It's-
that?
it's been-
Did you
it's
get
been
him?
turned
Did
over
you
to
call him?
TML.
Did you get with him?
It's been turned over to TML. Okay. Will you pen this down? Thank you. Agenda item number 5, consent agenda. Agenda item 5A, consider approval of the minutes from the July 20th, 2026 city council meeting. Any questions, concerns?
I make the motion to accept the minutes from the July 20th, 2026 council meeting.
All in favor? 5B, consider approval of the minutes from July 30th, 2026 budget and tax rate workshop. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? 5C, consider approval of the financial reports from July 2026. Questions or concerns?
I'll make the motion to consider the approval of financial reports of July 2026.
I second it.
Who seconded
I did.
it? Okay, all in favor? 5D, consider approval of the departmental monthly reports for July 2026. Does anybody want to,
You want me to speak?
do you want to speak?
I don't really have a whole lot to say. I mean, we basically finished our summer reading program, went out with a bang. As you can look at my statistics, I mean, we checked out just the books, 1,168 in 1 month. That's a lot for a small town. So we got the kids reading, they were earning their prizes, they had a blast. It's really been a good summer, and we're really proud of that program. And I do want to address something. I know that the raise was brought up. We were also offered a $1 raise. I purposefully decreased it because I did not want our budget to go up too much. So that was on me. That was not city council's decision. That was my decision to lower it. And I thought for us that was plenty. So I just wanted to say thank you for offering it. But that was my decision, was to lower it.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
You're welcome.
Agenda item number 6, city business. 6A, consider approval of, we didn't vote on that. Consider approval of the departmental monthly reports for July 2026.
I make the motion to accept the monthly reports for departments, July 2026.
Nick seconded, all in favor? Now, agenda item number 6, city business. 6A, consider approval of the mobile home permit for 127 Harris Street. Do we have? Okay. If you want to come up.
Basically just living to get a house on my land.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Can you get your neighbor's approval? And can you get your neighbor's approval?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the neighbors approve.
Okay.
Yes.
Looks fantastic.
It does look really good.
Thank you.
When do you plan on being able to have it delivered?
Should be from looks of it by the end of September, early October.
Well, I make the motion to consider approval for the mobile home permits for 127 Harris Street.
There you go, second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Ready to go, Duckling?
6B, consider ratification of the proposed tax rate of, now remember that there was a typo. It is .9556 per $100 for fiscal year 2026. We have already passed that in the agenda. Do I?
They called his name.
I've already called your name and we've moved on with other agenda items.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Okay. Let
I'm
me,
gonna make a public statement.
no,
I've tried to get on the agenda.
Mr. McDonald.
They refuse, they won't answer certified letters, they will not answer a letter. They hide the letter from the council, but the council can't even review the letter. We've been treated with discrimination and hate. Bye.
Mr. McDonald.
He's frustrated. I was very frustrated.
6B, consider ratification of the proposed property tax rate of .9556 per $100 for fiscal year 2026-2027. All vote required. Final vote on the adoption of the tax rate will be September 17th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Any questions or concerns?
I have a concern that,
It's from City Council.
I
Thank
know,
you.
Madam Mayor, if I can,
but you
Yeah.
published the agenda and now
we
you're
have two
changing the
reasons
number.
for this tax increase. This was the middle of the road rate that we chose. There was a higher and there was a lower. And with the lead line project that we're having to pay for and the sewer upgrades that we are having to pay for, we have no choice but to take an increase. We're not using this tax rate for administrative costs. These are for paying back bills that we have on major projects that were taking place back in 2020 when others were part of the council that took on these projects that were evidently have too many of them, according to some. So something that was approved in 2020 is the cause for this tax increase, and we don't have any choice. That's all I've got to say about that. I'll make the motion for 6B, consider the ratification of the proposed property tax rate of .9956 per 100.
9556.
9956. 95, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
No, who seconded?
James.
James.
Okay, then you gotta call each one of them by name, just
Okay.
call them.
Ms. Morva?
Oh, I said I was for it, I'm sorry.
Nick?
With the final vote being September.
September 17th. There it is?
Yes.
James, yes,
He's second.
okay, thank you.
I think two people are opposed and the rest are for it. That's what I hear from back here.
No, everybody was in favor.
It was unanimous.
Everybody's for it, in
Unanimous.
favor?
They don't let us speak.
6C, consider approval of the interlocal corporation contract between the Department of Public Safety and the City of Hawkins Municipal Court of Wood County are contracting under the authority Texas Government Code Chapter 791, the Interlocal Cooperation Act. Any questions?
They told me that I sent everything else, and that's all that it was for. But it's in this packet.
I'll make the motion to proceed with the approval for the interlocal corporation contract between the DPS and the City of Hawkins Municipal Court of Wood County.
I'll second it.
All in favor? 6D, consider approval of the financial audit for fiscal year 2025-2026.
ladies. You guys are in for a treat. I know I've got some new faces on council, so I'm going to kind of walk you guys through this a little bit. My name's David Godwin. We're your external auditor for the city, so essentially we are performing your financial statement audit. And for this year, what I always like to kind of start off with is just say thank you. Without you guys volunteering your time to sit on council, make these decisions, look into the weeds of things, government doesn't work, and there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, a lot of things, a lot of paperwork. So thank you for your time and efforts. I'll also encourage you, if you do have questions or you do have things that you'd like to visit in more detail about, you guys are always welcome to reach out to us. We'd always like to give you guys a little bit more insight. One of the fun things I think about the way the audit works is we spend a lot of time with Mandy. She's essentially your city secretary, and so I always like to specifically tell her thank you. She's very well organized. You guys have probably learned that. She makes getting paperwork very, very easy, I guess, in the big scheme of things. There's a lot of complexities that go into government. There's a lot of just performance functions that go into it. But really, overall, really pleased with our comprehension, the way that the audits have gone. We've been doing your audit for several years now, and it's always a pleasure to work with her. So, just with that, you guys are in great hands. Before I get into the audit, I always talk a little bit about what keeps us up at night as auditors, and it's longevity. For a small city, you guys having just the ability to kind of continue forward. You guys have had a lot of administrative turnover this last year, so you guys are learning a lot of new things. You're learning what past councils have done. You're learning a lot about what's been happening in the community. You guys have had a lot of turmoil in the past. It's not shocking. It's not hidden anywhere. We've seen a lot of this stuff. So you guys have big shoes to fill. But you're in a good position to do that. I am going to walk through some of the financials, give you guys a little bit more insight. One of the fun things about an audit is we're always looking at things in arrears. You guys are the decision makers. We just get to come back behind you and kind of check and see how things are going. So this audit was the September 30th of 2025. So just kind of keep that in mind. I do have one other piece of required communication that I have to give to you guys. With every audit, and you guys don't have this in front of you, I'm going to give this letter to the mayor. I'm going to kind of cover it, and Mandy will also have a copy of it for reference. So essentially, this is a governance letter, is what it's called. And so this is where we really talk about any significant things that happen in the audit. This is a required communication, so in any audit you get these. I guess the big things really quickly, on the first page it talks a little bit about the new accounting standards that came out. There were two accounting standards. One was GASB 101, which related to compensated absences, and the other one is GASB 102, which certain risk disclosures. Both of those have been incorporated into this financial report, so just want to be aware of that. The other thing that we talk about here is if you have any difficulties really dealing with management and performing the audit. Like I said, Mandy is very prompt, she's very respectful. We essentially started your audit late this last year. I think we didn't even get the engagement letter out to probably January. That does take us between 4 to 6 months to get an audit complete. And a lot of work that goes into it. You guys just see this little book at the end. So just kind of keep that in mind. But there were no disagreements. Like I said, no difficulties with management. There was also no disagreements in applying accounting standards. You guys can get a second opinion as part of the audit, similar to going to a physician. I'm unaware of any second opinions, so I can communicate that to you. One of the fun things too about your city, we use QuickBooks as our financial system. You guys have essentially 5 funds in that one QuickBooks file, so it all gets consolidated and it becomes a big bowl of spaghetti, per se. And so when you start going through that and untangling it, that's really where we spend a lot of our time. You guys have a lot of interfund transfers that kind of come out as part of the audit. So I'll talk a little bit about the interfund transfers, but just to kind of be mindful of what that has progression over the years. This last year we had about $570,000 in transfers. The previous year was about $800,000, and the year before that, so 2 years ago, was about $1.4 million. So you guys are getting more in line with your bookkeeping, how things should operate. So that's a good trend to see. We did make several audit adjustments really related to cutoff. So year-end cutoff is kind of a fun thing. So accounts receivable, accounts payable, those things aren't really with how you guys keep your books. You guys kind of keep it on a quasi-tax basis. It's not uncommon for a city as well. And you guys really don't keep up with your capital assets, your depreciation, and those type of items. So we typically come behind and help you guys tidy those things up. So just kind of for reference, last year we made 43 audit adjustments as part of our audit. The net income effect is a positive $294,000. This year we also made 43 adjustments. That's kind of random. Doesn't always happen that way. But the net income effect was actually negative $205,000. So it went the other way. Really a lot of those are just kind of some complex transactions related to long-term debt, other financing sources, uses, investment activity. We've got that loan forgiveness program going on with the Texas Water Development Board. There's a lot of little things going there. But for a city, and from what we see, there's nothing unusual, anything, I think it's kind of odd. And overall, it was a good audit on the city. Any questions? That was this letter in a nutshell, and I haven't even got to the book yet. All right, so I'm going to kind of walk you guys through this book. I'll probably go from the cover to the back. It is 71 pages long, so we're obviously not going to look at every page. But I do want to kind of point out a couple things to you guys. If you will just turn the cover page over, you're going to see the table of contents there. The thing I just want to kind of point out about this is really there's only two portions of this report that belong to us. So if you're looking at the table of contents, the very top letter up there, the independent auditor's report belongs to me. And then at the bottom, you're going to see a compliance and internal control section. Pages 69 and 70, that also belongs to us. Everything else really comes from the underlying financial framework, the paperwork that you guys provide to us, and just a lot of detail. So just be mindful of that. Any questions? Perfect. I'm going to flip over a page. It should be on letterhead. It's just say independent auditor's report on the top. I'm going to point you down to the second paragraph. It does say, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, that aggregate discretely presented component unit, each major fund, the aggregate remaining fund information of the city of Hawkins, Texas as of September 30, 2025. Essentially what that is an unmodified opinion. That is the best opinion that you can have from the government. So that's what you want to see whenever you're getting your audited financials. The other thing I will point out to you guys, if you flip over one more page, there's going to be some bullet points. I like the bullet points. They really change this opinion letter to point out what's the auditor's responsibility, because the auditor does have a responsibility. And one of my favorite things is that top line right there. It says, exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. As much as I like Mandy, we do have to look in and look and see what she's doing and make sure she is providing good information. We spend a lot of time actually confirming with third parties information that she does provide. So it's not just because Mandy said so, if that makes sense. So we spend a lot of time looking into the weeds on how this works, why this works, where this information comes from. And it's not just information that's provided from the city, it's outside third party information as well. So if you need some good reading material tonight, there is some other bullet points there, but that was the one I like to point out. Any questions? With opinion in a nutshell. I'm going to skip you guys over to page 18. So we're going to do a little trend analysis just so you guys are kind of aware. So page 18, this is Exhibit 1. This is your statement of net position. This is essentially a balance sheet for a municipality. This is on a full accrual method. In this area, you're going to see there's basically 4 columns. The first column is your governmental activities. So that's going to be a consolidation of your general fund, your debt service fund, your capital projects fund. All those things are included here. Your next column is your business type. That's essentially your water and sewer fund. There's a total for the government where it adds them together, and then your fourth column is the component unit, so the HCBC. The thing I'm going to point out here is really you guys are in a fairly good cash position. If you look at your top line item there, it says cash and cash equivalents. The governmental activities are sitting about $650,000. The business type at $326,000 for a total right at $976,000, and the HCBC is sitting right at $388,000. Please do keep in mind this is September 30th, 2025. If you also look at the very bottom and go up one line, that is your unrestricted net position. This really kind of tells the health of a city. When you look at a city, we like to see an unrestricted net position. For the governmental activities, your unrestricted net position is $1.5 million. For your business type, you're right at $500,000. So your total is right at $2 million, and then the HCBC is right at $430,000. Just to kind of give you guys a little bit of insight to, in the prior year, your total fund balance for the city, your total net position was $1.9 million, and your HCBC was at $283,000. So that has gone up a little bit. So that's good news. One of the other things that I want to point out to you guys, because I know this is always a piece of contention, especially with the citizens, is really related to the debt that the city has. So right in the middle of the page, you're going to see liabilities. And if you kind of go down into that fourth line item, you're going to see long-term liabilities. You're going to see due within 1 year and due in more than 1 year. So the due within a year for the city was $43,530. That's essentially because you guys made your debt service payments on your bond that was due right before your fiscal year end. You guys typically do that every year, but it's about $140,000 is what you have historically had. I don't typically push you to the back of the audit, but I do want to show you something really quickly in the note disclosures on page 45. So I'm going to flip you guys to the note disclosures. So everything that's on the face of the financials, there's more detail on the note disclosure. And so we're always going to revert back to the note disclosures. But what's here on page 45, if you guys flip over there, these are your annual debt service requirements. So that top line item is your governmental activities and your business type activities. These are your notes payable. So that fire truck that got brought up earlier, also there was a little Ford F-150 we had a note still lingering on. So you can see we're paying out about $40,000 a year on your notes. It's not a huge debt service for the city. If you go down to that next section down there, you're going to see your annual debt service requirements for your bonds, so your certificates of obligation. You're going to see that your governmental activities, there is no bond payment due because we have just paid it. But typically you guys pay that out right there at the end of the year. I told you those $141,000, but you have the interest tied to it, so it's closer to about $190,000. And then we have 2 interest payments that we make during the year. So once during the year we make about a $30,000 interest payment, and then the other part of the year we pay out our total $170,000. That makes sense? That's your governmental activities. You guys just passed a new bond this past year that's going to start coming out as well, and that's over in the water sewer fund. And so if you start looking at your future debt service payments, those will actually start until 2027. But those are also right at about $60,000 a year. And so that 60 plus your other $190,000, that you guys are at about $250,000 a year you're going to pay out in your bonds. You have your notes to that puts you in another $40,000, so you're right under $300,000 in annual debt service payments. Does that make sense? I think it's important for you guys to kind of walk through this because I know there's been a lot of questions on that in the past. All right. If there's no questions, I'm going to skip you guys back to page 19. Page 19. So page 19, this is your statement of activities. This is essentially your profit and loss for a city. I know it's a little bit, the presentation is fun. This is the way GASB has it set up. But where I'm gonna point you guys to is the very bottom of the page. If you're gonna look at that, you're gonna see your ending net position, and then right above that, your beginning net position. And right above that line item is gonna be your change in net position. So your change in net position is essentially your net income on a full accrual basis for the city. What you're gonna see there is you're gonna see a negative $26,000 for the governmental activities, positive $37,000 for the business type activities. So together the city made about $10,000. Pretty close to break even. And then over on the right hand side, the HCDC made $147,000. Does that make sense? Perfect. All I really want to point out on that financial statement, just so you guys kind of have a little basis to kind of look at. I'll go ahead and skip you guys over to page 22. So over here on page 22, this is Exhibit 3. This is your balance sheet for your governmental funds. Essentially, this is a modified accrual. This is essentially how you guys are keeping your QuickBooks file. So when you guys get reports from Andy's, it's going to match this type of reporting mechanism. So you're going to have a general fund right there in the first column, your debt service fund, and then we have a capital projects fund that you can see we're not using over in the general fund. We had a little bit of cash that we transferred out at the end of last year. The thing I just want to kind of point out here is really, you guys are looking at your cash position. You're also looking at your unassigned fund balances, similar to what we did with the other balance sheet. You're really in good shape, but I really just want you to know that this matches almost essentially what you're producing out of QuickBooks. Any questions? It's closer to that cash basis. I'll jump you over to page 24. Spend a little bit more time on this page. Once again, this is going to match your QuickBooks file, but page 24 is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances for your governmental funds. This is essentially your profit and loss, really on that modified accrual basis. This is what our budget is based on. So when you guys start talking about your budget, you're going through that process, this is the financial statement that we really use to kind of isolate and see how are we doing in relation to our budget. Your revenues have been really fairly consistent year over year. Just to kind of bring that up, you're really down about $110,000 in revenue this year. Really that was an expectation from no longer having the police department or municipal court fines. It was almost identical with what dropped off the bucket. We didn't have them anymore. We also dismissed pretty much all the cases that were there. So whenever you have those types of things, that revenue drops significantly. The overall expenditures down here as well, when you start looking at those, they were also down about $200,000 from the previous year, which expenditures being down $200,000 is great. Once again, is mainly related to that public safety. We just didn't have those expenditures that we've had in the past. So you kind of have that offsetting relation. So just in the general fund, you guys really netted. If you look on that right-hand side, you're going to see that we netted about $407,000 in excess. When you go down 2 line items, what you're going to see are what we call our interfund transfers. And what you're going to see there is about $388,000 being transferred out of the general fund. That's actually being transferred over to your water sewer fund to supplement their activities. So right now your taxes, so your property taxes, your sales taxes, your franchise taxes, all those things are supplementing your water sewer activities. So does that make sense? So your general fund is operating above the line in the black, per se, but you are sending that money over to the water sewer fund to help supplement those activities. And that's been happening for several years. That's not something that's new. That is kind of the thing that's been going on. The one thing I do like to kind of point out here too is really with cash in the bank, and we like to talk about our unrestricted cash in the bank. So that's $650,000 that was over on the previous page. You guys have roughly about 7.5 months worth of operating surplus. So if we didn't get any money in, we could operate for 7 months before we had to shut the city down there. That's kind of the ins and outs of that. not a huge surplus, but it's not horrible either. Any questions? I'm ready, you guys, to page 27. So on page 27, we just looked at the governmental activities, P&L essentially. So now we're going to look at the statement of revenues and expenditures and changes in fund deposition for the proprietary funds. This is your water sewer fund. If you look down in the middle of the page, you're going to see an operating loss. So remember, I just told you guys we sent money over here. Your operating loss over here in the water sewer fund is sitting at $383,000. So we're almost $400,000 operating loss. You can see further down the page where we did have that transfer in from the general fund to supplement that. The other thing I'll just point out here really quickly is kind of that same operating scheme that we talked about with the cash. So if you look over on the left-hand side, you're actually going to see your statement of net position. I didn't go into detail on that because basically covered just a bit ago. But your cash up here is $326,000 on that top line item. If you back out your depreciation, which is a non-cash expense, you guys really have about a 4-month operating surplus in your water sewer fund. In the prior year, it was at about 3 months. 2 years prior to that, you actually had about a 7-month surplus. So that does fluctuate a little bit. Things have gotten more expensive ever since COVID happened. So prices have gone up, and so we've seen a depletion of what we were able to purchase. Construction costs are way more expensive than what they were, and so managing that budget, what was 5-10 years ago, those costs have drastically increased. So even though you guys may have had that bond package back in 2020 when you got into that project, that was probably a good time. Your purchasing power was a lot more effective than if you were to do that same project today. It probably cost you twice as much. So even though your tax rates are going up to supplement some of that, it could have been a lot worse. Any questions? All right, so your note disclosures are page 29 through 60. Like I had kind of mentioned earlier, those just go into a lot more detail about the financial statements. I'm not really going to cover those, but I am going to flip you guys over. I believe it's page 60, 61, 63. Page 63, this is your budget for the previous year. This is just your general fund budget. It's all required to be reported as part of this financial statement package for GASP. So what I do want to point out is your left-hand column over here. It talks about your originally operating budget. If you look down at the very bottom, you're going to see a positive $385,000. So we were expecting an operating surplus in the general fund for about $385,000. If you look over on the right-hand side, you're going to see that negative 363, so we actually ended up with a deficit. But if you look once again, just a little bit higher up, you are going to see that was because of those operating transfers out. So we moved about $540,000 out of the general fund. Up above that, there was a surplus in the general fund between the revenues and expenditures. And you can really kind of see up at the top for those fines have come down, I believe. There's just kind of a different analysis on your property taxes were lower than they were actually in the previous year. So you're kind of looking to see, where your budget hit. So I think we're pretty in line with what we had estimated, except for the public safety because we didn't hire back the police department. You see that was way under budget. Well, like I said, overall, I think this was a good budget for the city. You guys were pretty in line with what we had estimated. And so I had no concerns. Any questions? You guys are making it too easy.
You're doing a really good job at explaining it.
That was a couple of times.
All
All right, let's. If you do have questions later on, please feel free to let me know. I always like questions. All right, I'm going to jump you guys over to page 69. It is on letterhead, so there's not an actual page number on it. Got a second to get there. 69. Essentially, this is the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on an audit, financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. Essentially what this letter is this talks a lot about your internal control framework, your daily operations, how you guys are processing, doing things. So just kind of for instance, you guys have seen these financial statements, we've given an opinion on these financial statements, but how do we know these are good financial statements? If we're looking at your water utilities, we're going to dig really deep into how that process works. How do we go from the billing cycle, where someone goes out and actually reads that, how does it get to the system? Electronic, is it manual, what is that process? For you guys, it's electronic. So after that gets into the system, we look at the billing cycle, we look at adjustments to that billing cycle, we look at the process for customer complaints on that billing cycle, so citizens' complaints. How are those things handled? Are we just adjusting things off? Are we ending up with a bunch of accounts out here that aren't being paid? And once those things are paid, how are they paid? If they're paid. So if they're paid, are they paid via cash, credit, ACH, online, in person, you name it, we're looking at it. So we do a lot of detailed testing in order to provide this opinion. This is the area where we would talk a lot about that if we had concerns. And so what I can say as part of this letter is we did not identify any material weaknesses. And that is what it said in that fourth paragraph, the very last sentence. It does talk about the other level of deficiencies that are common throughout an audit, control deficiency and a significant deficiency. If you have questions, you can go back through that, please let us know. I will also point out, if you look at the next page, over page 71, there were some old compliance observations that were kind of floating out here. We're able to write those off as completed during this fiscal year, which is great. We didn't have anything new that we really pointed out. I will say that the old observations, things that we had run across in the past, were mainly related to training, council training, staff training, just things, if you don't know, right? Kind of the saying. But the expectation, especially with the new councils, that you guys will be getting training, that you guys will be asking questions. If you do have questions, please ask. That's how you learn, right? The other thing I think that is kind of a fun thing we haven't talked much about is that Texas Senate Bill 1851. I know everybody's got excited about that Senate bill that's come out. We are not attorneys, so I have to kind of qualify with that. But we do look at compliance. We look at how things are being done. We didn't necessarily report that as a compliance issue in this audit, but essentially with that Senate bill, you have to have your audits completed within a 6-month time frame. If you don't have it, you have to essentially adopt a no new tax rate. There are some timing caveats to that. Like I said, I'm not an attorney, but the way that it reads and the understanding that we have is as long as you have the timing caveat of this report being produced before you adopt your tax rate, you've essentially put yourself back in compliance, if that makes sense. So as long as this is approved before then, which the expectation that will happen this evening, you guys should be in compliance for your tax rate. If you guys have any questions, you can confirm that with your attorney or with the DAT's office. So. All right, well, the last thing I do want to kind of just mention to you guys, one more time, if you have questions, I encourage you to reach out. We don't charge you guys extra for that. It helps us kind of let you know where you are and your understanding of the financials. Let us know where we can focus our time and attention as well. So with that, I appreciate you guys listening for a while this evening, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We're still on agenda item 6B, consider approval of the financial audit for fiscal year 2025-2026.
I'll make a motion to consider the approval of the financial audit for fiscal year 2025-2026.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Moving on to agenda item 6E, consider approval of hiring Randall Law Office to represent the city of Hawkins.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. My name is Heather Cook. I'm here on behalf of the Randall Law Office. Our firm represents municipal entities all across the state of Texas, smaller cities, larger cities. We've got experience in tax matters, we've got experience in Open Meetings Act, and Public Information Act, police matters, employment matters, you name it, we've done it. We've got decades of experience in this field. I understand that Mandy was kind enough to share our proposal with everyone. There's a lot more detailed information in there. Our firm has 5 attorneys. We are small, but we are nimble. We hope we understand your community in transition, and we hope that we can join forces with you and help you navigate those transitions and make sure all I's are dotted, T's are crossed from a legal standpoint. And happy to answer any questions about the proposal or any questions about the book if you have them.
Nick, do you have a question? Like, what information? I sent the.
Read all of them, It is, we want to make sure you have all the information you need to make the decision. You know, it's an important decision.
Are you local?
So our firm is based out of the Houston area. So
I
we're
know.
based in West Houston, but we represent entities all over the state of Texas. So in fact, I just visited 2 of our clients earlier today on my way here. So yeah, we're definitely able to be here if we need to be here physically present. As we understand it, we'll be attending meetings remotely unless there's a need for us to be here physically present, but we would certainly do that as well.
Thank you so much for running that there.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
That'd be good, thank you.
So still on agenda item 6E, consider approval of hiring Randall Law Office to represent the city of Hawkins attorney. Any questions?
I make the motion to consider the approval of hiring Randall Law Office to represent the city of Hawkins.
Second.
All in favor? Agenda item 6F, introduction of the police chief candidates Daniel Ramsey and Felipe Lopez. And both will have an opportunity to talk and present.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Dan Ramsey. I am one of the candidates for the police chief position. I want to know right up front that I take that consideration seriously. I spent 39 years as a police officer, the police chief twice, a constable was my last position, and I went into retirement. People ask me, why do you want to come to the city of Hawkins? I have a lot more to give, a lot more to help with establishing a police department. Right now you have none, you don't have an officer, you have no one. And so the first act, if appointed as a chief, would be to come in and see what you have in place, do policies and procedures, present it to the city council, so it can effectively begin to hire professional police officers. Now, I think the feedback from the city, the citizens of the town is very important, because these are going to be your police officers. And so that's one of the things that I would look at. I'm a graduate from the FBI National Academy. I have 4,400 hours of TCO training. I'm a graduate from the Leadership Command College in Huntsville, Texas. And I like I said, I've served in different capacities. The first priority, like I said, is to hire officers, is not to hire officers per se, but to make certain that when you hire officers, they are hired legally and properly. And I believe that's one of the problems you had in the past. I have developed policy and department level written leadership manuals for the police departments. Field training manuals and manuals to help run the police department. Most of this has to be documented when you hire police officers. Got to be done effectively, and you need to make sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's, that you do a very strenuous background investigation on these people, and cheat code requires it. And there's a packet that you must fill out and must complete. One of the other things that I've done is I've worked with the budget. I was a city council member in Rogers, Texas for 2 terms, same size as the city of Hawkins, and I understand the constraints you have in running your government. And so I would look for grants and so forth to help facilitate the funding of police work. I am a accident reconstructionist, a hostage negotiator, SWAT officer. I've had all that training, and I've done a lot of things working with the city that I've had developing programs that are good for the city itself. Citizens Police Academy. I instituted one of those when I was at the city of Teague, and the reason I did it was the fact is that I wanted people in the city to understand what police officers do. If they understand what police officers do, they know whether they're doing right or doing wrong. I would implement, make sure that the police officers that we have hired have body cameras, because I think it's important that what they do is recorded. It used to be years ago, people would say, well, that's Big Brother. No, there's a camera everywhere. People have a phone, they have a camera. But I've always been under the belief that if you're doing the right thing all the time, you don't have to worry. So that documentation can be there in case you have to use an attorney. I've got to have trust within the city council if I'm put in this position, as well as the citizens. If I don't have a buy-in from the citizens and everybody, it won't work. It's not a one-person job, it's everybody's job. There's no team, there's no I in team, so you have to work together. Laterally. So I have the background, the know-how to build your police department. So if I'm given the opportunity, that I have a 90-day program or 90-day plan that I've set out that I will give to the mayor. It's a draft to show what you would do in the first 90 days.
So how do you feel about drunk drivers and drug people?
What do I
How
think
do
about
you
it?
feel about them?
Well, I don't like drunk drivers. I spent my first part of my career as a traffic officer in a DWI task force, hunting down DWIs.
Okay.
I put a lot of people in jail for DWI.
Thank you.
Including, state representatives.
Thank
So,
you.
it doesn't matter, if you break the law, you're not above the law, you got to suffer the consequences.
Thank you.
That's the same thing with police officers. If they make a mistake, they're going to be held accountable. However, there is a procedure that has to be done. If a complaint is done against an officer, they have an opportunity to respond to it. They have to have that ability to respond to that complaint. But when you do the entire investigation, If it shows that there's misconduct there, then that officer will be put on indefinite suspension. I would bring that for the council. The bottom line is, anything that happens in regards to the police department will be brought before the council for your approval.
Can I ask where you're from?
Pardon me?
Can I ask where you're from?
I live in the city of Teague, or Tig, as most people call it. And it's about 3,000 people. I started my career in City of Temple and worked for the sheriff department, and then went to work with the city of Taylor, and started out at the bottom again, and worked my way up to assistant chief and interim chief. And that's when I went to the FBI National Academy. Now, the FBI National Academy is there's only 7% of leaders across the nation get the opportunity to go. And I was fortunate, God bless. You know, I had that opportunity, and I took it and ran with it. While there, it was a 10-week course, and a 3.8-mile Marine Corps obstacle course. Wasn't fun, but I completed it. And a 34-mile swim competition. I swim like a rock, but I did get it done. And so, the bottom line is that if you put your mind to something, you can achieve it. And so, I'm one of those people. I'm a working officer. I was a working chief. Many times, as a chief in Taylor, I'd come out at 3 o'clock in the morning. My officers would go, "Chief, what are you doing out here?" I said, "You're out here. Why can't I come out? You can't have all the fun." And so, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I'm a driving instructor, firearms instructor, and I've taught in police academy, and so I have the ability to instruct officers. And a field training manual, like I said earlier, when it's put together, in a small town, you almost have to use a task-oriented phase because you're not going to come across the things you would in a large department.
I think we have a question.
Yes.
Do you plan on moving to our town, moving within the city?
Not right away. I'm going to live out of my RV for a while, but.
I understand.
But your presence will be here.
My presence will be here. But again, I'm going to be a one-man show for a while, so I can't be here all the time. I'm going to have some downtime. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, are you related to any of or friends with any of the council members or the people who are working the utilities or, you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, you're not friends with or
That's somebody that my father didn't tell me
Well,
about.
I guess I was kind of wondering why Hawkins.
Why not Hawkins?
Okay.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Since you have experience setting up police departments, and our department has been closed for a little while, how long do you think, once you're hired, would it be before you would have a fully functioning police department open? Because I know it takes, you gotta redo the cars, the contracts and all that. So what is approximate about your best guesstimate, do you think?
The police department would be open as soon as if I was selected as chief, it would be open as soon as I got on board. But the officers would take some time because I would want to go out and look for the best people I can get. And then I've got to sell those people on this town. You know, what do you have here? Bring these people here. And so I'd also look at the idea of, is there anybody in the city, younger generation that want to be police officers, that maybe we can sponsor and send to academies so that they'll come back to this town and be part of it. So that's a couple of options that are there. But the first thing is get in the door. I'd have to see what I have and then go from there. But, yes, sir.
Question, if you were ordered to break the law by the council, would you keep the law or break it?
I never broke the law in 39 years, and I'm not going to start today.
Okay.
Okay? And there's, you know, I've had people tell me, you need to do this. I said, well, if it's within the law and a crime has been committed, then I will address it appropriately. But I'm not gonna break the law or supersede the law to make someone happy. And so I'm probably gonna make some people mad, but on the same line, integrity is important to me. You know, if you have no integrity as a police officer, you might as well quit. Go do something else. So, integrity, honesty, morality. A lot of the training I've had has been great. One of the things I am most proud of is I'm an ordained minister now. And so, I became an ordained minister so I could marry my goddaughter. And so, that made her happy. And so, I'm pretty proud of that achievement. And so, God has always been part of my life and in the decisions that I make. Being on the street, many times I got that feeling, that cold feeling when I walked up to a car, you know, something ain't right. And 99.9% of the time, something wasn't right. God's watched over me for some reason, and I'm glad for that. But I do believe I have strong faith, and I believe that that's important in law enforcement.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans that once you start hiring police officers, are you prone to encourage them to go on and get other training?
I think it's important for officers that come on board to get all the training they can get. I was blessed with the fact that working for the city of Temple, I had got to go to a lot of schools, becoming an accident investigator, becoming a top pilot operator, becoming, you know, many fields that I had an opportunity to do. And so, you know, I took every chance. I was, like I said, I was the first assistant chief in the city of Taylor. They never had one before. I was the first assistant chief. And 2 weeks after becoming the assistant chief, the chief decided to become the assistant city manager. So I was chief. And of course, like all luck, first couple of weeks, and an officer involved shooting. There's chiefs that go years and never have that. And so I had to deal with that. So I've experienced a lot of things, school shootings and stuff like that. Not a good thing, but training is very important. It's very important. And I encourage them to get all the training you can. Now, ECO provides funds for training police officers, and you get it every year. Now that you have no police officers, you're probably not getting any of it. But that would be one of the things that you would get reestablished once you have them. They send a certain amount, I think it's like $600-something a year per officer. So, you know, that's one way to do it. But I have the ability to train officers. Being an instructor, I think is important. Like I said, I'm a driving instructor, so, you know, in police departments, a lot of times, you look at what's the most important thing that they teach. You know? It's not driving. That should be one of the important things, because what do you use most of all? Your vehicle. You know, yeah, you got to train with your firearm, but you have a vehicle, and you have something. And so, I have the ability to do it. I'm a TML instructor, so I can train police officers in driving, high-speed performance driving. Now, a lot of people say, what if they get in a car shoot? Unfortunately, in this job, those things do happen. You don't encourage it, but you got to hire people that have the intelligence to know, is this pursuit important? Is it worth someone's life? A traffic ticket is not. So, you know who the person is? Just get a warrant, go pick them up at their house when they're watching TV. Yes, sir.
How old are you and how is your health?
I am over 21 and my health is great.
Good answer.
I run 1.5 miles, 2 miles every other day. I try to stay in shape. And of course, along with the honeydews I do at the house, it keeps me in shape as well. Yeah, I'm physically fit. Doctor said I was. And I hope to be that way for a long time.
So the officers you want to hire will be physically fit?
Well, yes.
Well, we've had them that weren't physically fit, some of them that couldn't even get in their car. And the city had to sell it. I bought it, and I sold it, and I made good money on it. But, you know.
The thing is that that's one thing that police departments also lack in. Larger departments have the ability to put programs together, but there's no reason why you can't set a program together for health of your officers. You want to keep them around, they're good officers, you want to make sure that they're able to do the job. One of the things that comes with being a police officer a long time is, yeah, you can be physically fit, but you got to use your brain. You know, and you have to use the tools that you have available so that you don't have to overexert yourself. And you're going to come across people out there that, you know, you're going to have to deal with on a daily basis. I've been lucky enough for many years is to talk them into the car. And it's better than having to fight them. But if you have to fight them, then you have to fight them.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think we got a lot of the questions answered. Mr. Lopez, would you like to come and share some? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens of thank you for allowing me to be here today. Obviously, hopefully I can top Mr. Ramsey's experience and knowledge, of course. For me, I'm between 45 and 50, so I'm 50 years old, believe it or not, so just to put that out there. I do work out once in a while here and there, so. But once again, thank you so much for having me. It's definitely an opportunity and privilege to speak with y'all. So hopefully this doesn't sound a little bit too redundant. I've passed a little background as well, experience, a little bit of experience as well. So try not to be as robotic as possible. So, but if you can't hear me, please let me know. So I have more than 20 years of combined experience in law enforcement, public safety, and security leadership. My career has included municipal policing, criminal investigation, detention, and transportation operations, aviation security, and private sector security. One of the most significant accomplishments of my career was establishing the City of San Diego's first law enforcement agency as a City Marshal's Office in July of 2019, and later leading it to transition to a fully operational municipal department as Chief of Police in May 2021, for a population of 5,000 residents. I was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. I've been there for 26 years. The population is about 7 million. So, given an opportunity, almost 14 years in law enforcement. First 9 years of that, I was a patrol officer, and then made chief within 9 years. I was probably one of the youngest chiefs in San Antonio, and a smaller city within the cities of San Antonio. So, a great accomplishment with that accomplishment. In the role, I was a working chief. I was responsible for all department operations, including patrol, criminal investigations, budgeting, policy development, personal management, and internal investigations, code enforcement, and community engagement. So when I first started back in 2019 with the City of San Diego, I started off as a marshal's office. Created and established that department back in 2019. City got started back in 2014. It stayed stagnant in 2014 up until 2019 until I took it over. So I have almost 13 and a half years of law enforcement experience, during which I've served a variety of investigative, supervisor, and leadership roles. I hold a Texas Master Peace Officer license, and I've completed over 6,000 hours of law enforcement training. My certifications include TCO instructor, TASER instructor, use of force instructor, field training officer instructor. Throughout my career, I've committed to maintaining this highest professional standards and continuous training and development while mentoring and other officers as well. My experience has equipped me with the leadership and technical knowledge and practical skills necessary to serve both law enforcement organizations and communities as they protect. I've continued serving in the leadership positions, supporting federal immigration and transportation security contracts. That's what I've been doing for the past year. I work for the GEO Group and G4S and Allied, and the federal transportation is detainees as well. So I've supervised large teams and managed complex transportation operations, coordinated with government partners, and ensured compliance with federal security standards. Throughout my career, I've remained committed to professional accountability and public safety, and maintaining organizations that serve communities effectively. Why am I interested in serving the city of Hawkins, Texas? Okay. Public service has been the foundation of my career. I've been interested in serving citizens of Hawkins because I believe my experience in law enforcement, organization leadership, and public administration can provide value to the community. Having created and established a led municipal law enforcement agency, I understand the importance of transparency, fiscal responsibility, collaboration, and earning public trust. Enjoying working with elected officials, city staff, and residents to solve problems and improve services. Serving in the city capacity and allowing me to continue contributing experience to helping guide through decisions and benefit the current and future. I know by what I've received information, I know the city of Hawkins had a high turnover with the chief of police position. So hopefully either myself or Mr. Ramsey can fill those shoes in the long-term capacity and bring what citizens deserve of public safety and calls for service and things like that. Put everything back on track. Obviously, as Mr. Ramsey had stated earlier, this is not a small feat. It's going to take time. When I started back in 2019 in the city of San Diego, it took me 5 years. As myself, I hired 3 full-time patrol officers, code enforcement, and animal control as well. I was very well versed in all those aspects. Of course, with animal control, I did code enforcement. Like I said, I was a working chief. So it's going to take time. It's starting at the bottom, creating a canvas, and working its way up. So there's going to have to be a lot of patience with that. Just like Mr. Ramsey, it was just myself when I first started patrolling. But there's a lot of other logistics, administrative, CAD services, vehicles, setting up, the county, getting those services up with dispatch services and radios and things like that nature. Of course, I haven't had a police department for almost a year, so starting from the ground up and developing a new uniform and patches and logos and things like that. So, but it's going to take time, anywhere from 6 months to a year. Finding good qualified candidates is going to be tough because you're competing with other agencies that are paying at a higher rate at the same time. So, my qualifications for the position. My qualifications are built on more than 20 years of leadership and operational experience. I have successfully managed, developed policies and procedures, administered budgets, conducted complex investigations, responded to critical incidents, and ensured compliance with state and federal regulations. As a working chief, I've directed every aspect of municipal law enforcement operations while working closely with City Council, city administrating prosecutors, and other government agencies. I have extensive experience in supervising employees, evaluating performance, and developing future leaders and implementing organizational improvements. As I stated previously, in my previous leadership role, I supervised more than 55 transportation officers along with multiple supervisors coordinating with daily operations and service primary liaison with federal client. My background has prepared me to evaluate these issues objectively, work collaboratively, and make decisions based on facts, policy, and best interests of the community. Goal or vision. If appointed, my first priority would be to listen to the community. Okay, that's first and foremost. Obviously, that's going to be a big change because y'all haven't had a big law enforcement presence in over a year. Y'all relied on county. Okay, and once we get those police services back up, calls for service and things like that, and other things that go into traffic enforcement, making arrests, code enforcement, animal control. Those are all parts of the police department as well. So Goals of leadership, and I believe effective public service begins with collaboration and informed decision making. My vision is to help promote responsible governance, transparency, accountability, and long-term planning. I will strive to contribute practical solutions, encourage open communication, and support policies strengthen public trust while ensuring the city's resources and managers properly. I also hope to use my experience in leadership for public safety, budgeting, and organizational development in the City of Hawkins Police Department, continue to provide high-quality services and preparing for the future growth. My goal is to be collaborative, dependable, and engaged members who always act in the interest of the community. So now that I got that, so you got to be personal with the community at the same time. Standards and expectations are always going to be high. Not only with City Council and myself, I'm going to hold everybody accountable. I'm going to hold myself accountable as well, and police officers as well. Having a good rapport with the county, DPS, and the other agencies as well. So, like I said, it's going to take time. You know, I've had when I started back in 2019 as a chief, it was a wild, wild west out there. When I say the wild, wild west, in the city of close to 7 million in a sub-city, so a lot of people. So you're going to have the good and the bad because the enforcement hasn't been there for a long period of time. So it's nothing personal. It's going out there and doing the job. It's never going to be personal. If somebody's breaking the law, whether it be regular citizens or anybody else, then we're going to move forward with the law. I'm always going to be transparent. I'm always going to be approachable. And that's just me. I'm dedicated. Did the military. I did 14 years in the military. I started off in the Navy, finished out in the Army. So I've dedicated predominantly. I've spent my time in uniform from the military, 14 years, to another almost 14 years in law enforcement. So when I say I love this job, I love this job. So,
is that what you did prior to becoming an officer as the military? Was there any other profession?
I got out when my son was born because I didn't want to be deployed. And he just turned 17. I started school today as a high school. So I also have a 13-year-old daughter. So yeah. So I've spent my entire career, predominantly my entire life in uniform, from military to law enforcement. So
thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. I've tried to dedicate and do my craft and helping people. I've been on law enforcement for municipality for 2 years, but I've always kept my certifications up and still currently never had any use of force complaints. I've always had done things by the book. Of course, my last agency, it's unfortunately there's a lot of, how can I say this, transparent, as clear as possible. It's tough being in this position because we answer the city council as well, and we answer the citizens. And we try to find a medium in there. This is not an easy job. It's not, because there's always a high turnover, and then you have to start all over. So you're trying to find that medium. You're never going to please everybody, but you try to do your best. You just go off course, and then you're going to get yourself in trouble. As Mr. Ramsey, he's made a long career as well. And I still want to continue until either I can't do it anymore or until my license expires. So
do you plan on committing to us and moving to the city?
Yeah.
Same question.
Yeah, it's obviously it's going to take time. Hopefully, I'm sure there's some great places to
there is
here. So looking to find those places as well and be here. So I'm single, not that it mattered, but of course. Yes, ma'am.
I have two questions. One, at the full function of the police department, what is your goals of how many officers you hope to eventually have for this size of city? And second question is, kind of going on a question from over there, are you related or do you have friends in this community?
Unfortunately not. I'm not related to anybody here. I've been in San Antonio for 25 years, so everybody would be brand new to me. So I'm not related to anybody. There's no special circumstances or anything like that. Everybody would be treated the same. First part of the question, since the city, the department, you have to be commissioned first. You have to go through a special licensing. You have to put all that together. So administratively, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not gonna happen overnight. Still have to get with TCO, still have to get with the state. It takes a little bit of time, of course. And as myself, you know, I have to start off as administrator, because I can't just jump in and carry a gun. It doesn't work that way. You have to be commissioned as a state agency first, and then get into that.
I'm just meaning like, how many officers do you eventually see?
For residents, it looks like we have close to, 1,500 residents, 12 to 1,500 or so. So, of course, you always want 24-hour coverage. At the same time, depending on budgeting and where we're at, I know that looking at, I think y'all have, if not mistaken, 10 for setting 10 reserves spots, or is that old? And that was old. Okay, so it no longer applies. Okay, so we would have to start all over again.
Okay, so depending on budget, just
obviously, you know, like I said, when I was at Sandy Oaks, we had 5,000 residents. It was a small community, so we had 3. At that time, we needed at least 5. So here, you're probably looking at 3 to 4, and then we're able to move forward with reserves, no more than 10 reserves to fill those gaps as well. So, yes, ma'am.
Were you or were you not affiliated with ICE?
No, I was a contractor, so I didn't directly work with ICE. So
What does that mean?
the GEO group, so there's companies that have contracts with the government with ICE. If you're a contractor that holds that does bids for the contracting with the federal government, and so certain agencies bid for those contracts, whatever it may be, whether it be transportation, housing, or whatever it may be. So I was a contractor with ICE, but I worked for a different company below. So, yes, ma'am.
Question. Do you have any interest, as some police departments and chiefs do, of bringing flop cameras to your city to help with security and all of that? Is that of an interest of yours? And second question, as far as the ICE contracts, as a chief of police, I know you can contract with the government. Is that an interest of yours to do if you were hired into this position?
On that particular, at this point in time, no, because we still have to get set up. We need baby steps.
Even set up, long game.
Yeah, so I would really have to sit down and get with counsel on that, because I know in the city of San Antonio, there was actually, Sandy Oaks was part of the, there was 4 cities out in the surrounding city for San Antonio, 4 cities, and of course, you know, they allow funding and things of that nature. At this point in time, it's not even a conversation, because we have so much to go, even setting up a department. The federal part is not even close. I'm sure there's plenty of other issues here that we need to tackle first before we're looking at any type of immigration. As far as the flock cameras, not even remotely, because that's an expensive program at the same time. I'm sure regular patrols would work, being out on patrols and, you know, running plates and that, you know, things of that nature. Flat cameras, that's just it's a tool, but I'm not even concerned with that. Yes, sir.
San Antonio is a sanctuary city. Do you believe in enforcing all federal laws?
You know, of course, the United States is the greatest country in the world, you know.
That wasn't what I asked.
No, sir. Yeah. You know, I believe in the law. So if you're breaking the law, then accordingly, it's going to be handled accordingly. So, you know, if I came across somebody that wasn't here, of course, that's a different time and place in a different area.
If they weren't here,
if they're committing a crime, besides being here illegally, if they're doing something that they're not supposed to be, you know, drunk driving or burglary or things like that, they're going to be prosecuted within the limits of law in that scope. Now, if the federal program wants to deal with that, then they can deal with that at a different time and date.
So you would enforce federal?
At this point in time, I'm just going to enforce the local law, state law at this point in time. But that's not even a conversation, because there's so much other stuff first beforehand.
What makes you want to move to Hawkins?
An opportunity. I know it's a small community like the one I came from, so a little bit, well, I still live in San Antonio. The city that I was at, close to 5,000. Just the community based in itself. And I know y'all had y'all's issues in the past, and try to bring that closer together with law enforcement, for safety.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you leave San Antonio?
Politics.
And you applied at Hawkins? Politics plays a big part in the chief police position. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it. I'm going to be transparent, just the way it is. I was there for 5 years, and all of a sudden, I was there for 5 years. I was placed on the city council agenda without any warning, no formal complaints, no issues, no problems. I go into executive session and was released. Got an honorable discharge at that point in time and no other information. Was that honorable discharge because that was the only box on that form that was appropriate to check? Because I know that form is having some issues.
Yeah, well, back when I was released, they stopped doing away with honorable, general, and dishonorable. So it no longer applies anymore. So, but during that time, it was,
okay.
The mayor was unaware at that time, but he wanted to give me an honorable during that time. How it's moved on is that they no longer give honorable, general, and dishonorable. It's just a release. So it's not, anytime an agency, when you go somewhere, it's, you're going to do a background on all their files. So.
I appreciate your honesty.
You're welcome. The reality is nobody wants to discuss it. It happens across the board in the state of Texas and across the United States. When it comes to the politics part of it, I know it's, I want to get into that, of course, but I'm going to be transparent, with county control, when you have 6 individuals and, if you're not doing a good enough job,
But you'd be doing a good job and still get.
yes, absolutely. Like I said, I started that department in 2019, and, it just depends which way the wind is blowing.
Thank you so much for sharing. Does any council members have questions?
Appreciate you tremendously.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank
And
you
like I
so
said,
much.
I know I have a great competition right now. So like I said, at the end of the day, I'm always going to be myself. I'm always going to do my best to get this, if I'm selected, do my best to get this department where it needs to be. Standards and expectations are high, not only for city council and myself. It's a very difficult to start a department from the ground up. Because you're having to train and put a lot of effort and time and things of that nature. So it's going to take time.
You have a plan?
Yes.
Like,
I've done it once, I can do it again.
okay.
But thank you for your time. Try not to go too fast. I do apologize. But thank you so much for this opportunity. Like I said, thank you so much.
So that's not one that we have to go on, so we're moving on to the next. 6G, consider approval of appointing John Dunn for Hawkins Community Development Board.
I'll
give it to them back
to
there.
appoint John Dunn, 6G, to the Hawkins Community Development.
I second it.
You second? All in favor? 6H, consider approval of appointing Kevin Gaddis for Hawkins Community Development Board.
Make a motion to consider the approval of Kevin Gaddis, Hawkins Community Development Board.
I second it.
All in favor? 6I, consider approval of appointing Meredith Hancock for Hawkins Community Development Board.
I make a motion to accept appointing Meredith Hancock at the Community Development Board.
I second it.
All in favor?
And she,
And Karen abstained. 6J, consider approval of appointing Sharonda, how do you say your last name? I've never had to say it.
It's Hawkins, and I changed it when I got married. I dropped
Hawkins.
my middle
Hawkins.
name and my old last name and took up my maiden name and my new husband's name. Only reason why it's changed.
6J, consider approval of appointing Sharonda Hargis for Hawkins Community Development Board.
I make the motion to consider approving Sharonda. I have a question. For the community development.
Roll call,
I'll second.
vote required.
Favor?
who was also,
Norma, then me.
okay, oh, wait a minute, okay. So Norma, and then who's seconded it?
Thank you.
And then,
And
okay.
then all in favor?
Oh, no, he doesn't. He seconded.
Okay.
He voted no?
Correct.
Okay. So all in judgment.
And agenda item number 7, adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? We are adjourned.